It starts like any ordinary drive. Quiet roads, passing headlights, the low hum of an engine filling the silence. But in an instant, everything can change. Dashcams, designed to capture routine journeys and protect drivers, have unintentionally recorded some of the most chilling and tragic moments ever seen on the road. From sudden, unavoidable collisions to terrifying split-second decisions that end in disaster, these cameras don't look away, and that's what makes the footage so disturbing. What you're about to explore isn't just a collection of accidents. It's a stark reminder of how fragile life is and how quickly normalcy can spiral into something unimaginable. In the early hours of June 9, 2025, the east-west highway near Jericho, Malaysia, became the scene of a devastating tragedy that would shock the nation. A privately chartered bus carrying 42 university students returning from the Eid al-Adha holiday sped along the dark, winding road. Most passengers were asleep, unaware that what should have been a routine journey home would turn into a nightmare. As the bus navigated a steep right-hand curve, it attempted to overtake a Honda Odyssey ahead. Witnesses later recalled the driver's agitated and erratic behavior as the vehicle swerved dangerously. In a split second, control was lost. The bus collided violently with a Perodua Alsa minivan, sending it spinning before smashing into the guardrail. The impact tore through metal and structural pillars, and the bus ultimately flipped onto its side near a ravine. Passengers were hurled from their seats, landing in roadside ditches. The scene was chaotic, mangled metal, shattered glass, and the cries of the injured filled the early morning air. Emergency responders rushed to the site, but the overturned bus, rough terrain, and darkness made rescue operations extremely challenging. Firefighters had to cut through the bus to reach trapped passengers while medical teams worked frantically to tend to the wounded. 13 students died at the scene, and 2 more succumbed to injuries in the hospital, bringing the death toll to 15. 33 others survived, but were left with serious injuries and lifelong trauma. Investigations revealed the bus had been speeding, and that its driver, Mod Amirul Fadil Zulkifli, had a record of 18 traffic violations, 13 for speeding. The bus itself had failed multiple safety audits. Dashcam footage later confirmed the reckless overtaking that triggered the crash. Fortunately, no fire broke out, though the danger had been terrifyingly close. The nation reacted with shock and grief. Social media was flooded with condolences, and hashtags like Na Upsi Berduka and Tragedy Garrick trended nationwide. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and other officials expressed sympathy to the families and called for stricter safety measures. Memorials, prayer gatherings, and charity drives were organized, raising over $2 million to support victims' families. Universities ensured that injured students could continue their studies despite the trauma. Legal proceedings moved quickly. The driver was charged with 15 counts of dangerous driving and 1 count of reckless driving. He pleaded not guilty but was released on bail under strict conditions, including a driving ban. Investigators also found that the bus company had violated numerous safety regulations, including subletting the vehicle permit without approval, failing to monitor drivers via GPS, and neglecting mandatory safety protocols. The company's operating license was revoked, and legal action against its operators was pending. The Jericho bus crash stands as a haunting reminder of how quickly a single moment of recklessness can turn ordinary travel into catastrophe. 15 young lives were lost, countless others injured, and the nation left grappling with grief and questions about preventable road safety failures. For survivors, families, and witnesses, the memory of that night, the bus tumbling down the hillside, cries echoing in the dark, remains painfully vivid, underscoring the urgent need for vigilance, responsibility, and safety on every journey.
This is some of the dashcam video the prosecution played for the judge to try to convince him to keep Mustafa Al-Jaziri behind bars. It shows the moments before his car crashed into oncoming traffic.
It was April 5th, 2023, in Dumfries, Virginia. A quiet morning that would turn into a nightmare. Inside a 2007 Chrysler 300 were 33-year-old Dorothy Diane Horton, her boyfriend Mustafa Al-Jaziri, and her 5-year-old daughter, Empress. To anyone outside, It was just another car driving through traffic. But inside, tension had been simmering all day. Dorothy sat in the front passenger seat, little Empress in the back, while Mustafa drove. The argument between Dorothy and Mustafa, which had started hours earlier, had escalated, their voices sharp and emotions raw. Witnesses would later describe them as locked in a heated exchange just moments before disaster struck. Heading in the opposite direction was a 46-year-old woman in a Chevrolet Suburban. She had no idea the danger approaching, focused only on the road ahead, unaware that the Chrysler barreling toward her carried more than just passengers. Dashcam footage from a nearby vehicle captured the terrifying final seconds. Dorothy's expression shifted suddenly from anger to sheer terror. Lip readers later confirmed she whispered, "No, Empress is in the car." It was a desperate plea, a mother's instinct screaming in the face of imminent danger. Seconds later, the Chrysler drifted steadily across the center line. There was no frantic jerk of the steering wheel, no screeching tires. Investigators noted only light pressure on the brake pedal, far too little to avoid the oncoming collision. It wasn't an accident in the traditional sense. It looked deliberate. The crash was catastrophic. The Chrysler slammed into the Suburban, spinning both vehicles violently. The Chrysler was thrown onto the sidewalk. The Suburban ended up facing the wrong direction in traffic. Debris littered the road like shards of a shattered life. Inside the Chrysler, Dorothy and Empress were critically injured. Neither had been properly restrained. Dorothy unbelted, Empress unsecured. Both were rushed to nearby hospitals, but neither survived. Mustafa survived with minor injuries, as did the driver of the Suburban, leaving a trail of heartbreak in their wake. Investigators pieced together the horrifying scene. Sergeant Chad Mason noted the absence of skid marks, evidence that the driver made no real attempt to stop. The worst damage was concentrated on the passenger side, the exact spot where Dorothy had been seated. Every detail seemed to tell the same grim story. 2 days later, on April 7th, Mustafa was arrested at his home. He was charged with 2 counts of manslaughter and 1 count of malicious wounding. Dorothy's brother, Derek, spoke through his grief, describing the unimaginable loss of both his sister and niece in a single day. Dorothy's remaining children were left motherless, their family shattered forever. The tragedy extended even further. Dorothy's estranged husband, Divine Fontaine, remembered the small joys with his daughter, the tea parties, the tutus, the laughter. Those memories, once comforting, now cut like knives. In court, prosecutors presented a chilling argument. The dashcam footage showed intent. Mustafa had allegedly used the car like a weapon. Dorothy's terrified expression and the Chrysler's steady movement across the line were proof, they argued, of deliberate action. The defense painted a different picture, claiming it was a tragic accident. They argued Mustafa had made a terrible mistake while trying to pass another car, and Dorothy's final words were instinctive warnings, not evidence of malice. Prosecutors, however, introduced additional claims, including accusations of threats against a jail guard, suggesting a pattern of dangerous behavior. Despite family denials, the judge sided with prosecutors and kept Mustafa in custody, leaving the community grappling with a tragedy that could have been prevented but left scars no one could heal. It was August 10, 2016, on the A34 near Newbury, Berkshire. A family was returning from a summer camping trip, tired, sunburned, but happy. They had shared a meal, hugged, and laughed together. The children joked and teased each other in the back seats, completely unaware that these simple, joyful moments would be their last. In a small Vauxhall Corsa, 45-year-old Tracy Houghton drove with her 3 children, 13-year-old Ethan, 11-year-old Josh, and 11-year-old Amy Goldsmith, her partner's daughter. Close behind, in a Vauxhall Zafira, was Tracy's partner, Mark Goldsmith, with his 13-year-old son, Jake. The 2 cars moved steadily through the heavy traffic, inching toward home in Dunstable. Traffic was crawling that afternoon, forcing the vehicles to move slowly. Tracy's Corsa kept pace, and Mark followed at a safe distance, unaware of the danger lurking behind them. Further back, a 30-year-old lorry driver named Tomasz Kroker was approaching in his 19-ton truck. Inside his cab were 2 cameras, one facing the road, the other on him. For nearly 7 seconds, his eyes were not on the road at all. He was scrolling through music on his phone. At 50 miles per hour, his truck covered more than 150 meters in that time. When he finally looked up, the expression on his face shifted instantly. Realization, then sheer panic. He dropped the phone and slammed on the brakes, but it was far too late. The massive lorry collided with traffic ahead, setting off a catastrophic chain reaction. The truck crushed Tracy's Corsa beneath another lorry, reducing the small car to nothing more than mangled metal. Tracy, Ethan, Josh, and Amy were killed instantly. Behind them, Mark and Jake were thrown forward as their own car was pushed into the wreckage. Mark later recounted the horrifying moment he realized what had happened. He stood on the road, holding Jake, while the devastation of losing their loved ones sank in. Initially, Croker claimed his brakes had failed and that he had only been listening to the radio. But dashcam footage revealed the truth. He had been scrolling through his phone just moments before the crash, violating a promise he had made to his employer earlier that day not to use his phone while driving. The crash caused an 8-vehicle pileup, leaving another driver seriously injured. In court, Croker admitted to 4 counts of causing death by dangerous driving and 1 count of causing serious injury. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison and banned from driving for 7 years. The judge remarked that his actions were equivalent to driving with his eyes closed. For the families, no sentence could undo the horror. Mark and Jake had been directly behind their loved ones, forced to witness the moment everything was taken from them. 4 lives, Tracy, Ethan, Josh, and Amy, were gone in an instant, all because one driver chose his phone over the road. It was the morning of August 25th, 2021, on the A3003 near Andover, Hampshire. For 28-year-old Alex Britton, the day had already gone wrong. Her car had broken down in lane 1 of a busy dual carriageway, a stretch with no hard shoulder and nowhere safe to pull over. A mother of 2, engaged to her childhood sweetheart, and planning a wedding delayed by the pandemic, Alex now found herself stranded in the middle of traffic, waiting for help instead of thinking about venues or dresses. Help arrived quickly. 58-year-old delivery driver Tina Inns pulled her van behind Alex's car, carefully positioning it to shield her from oncoming traffic. She stepped out, ready to help a stranger in distress. Moments later, a 3rd person appeared. Tom Watson, a 30-year-old recovery truck driver, was passing by on the way to another job. Seeing the scene, he pulled over and joined the effort to assist. Now, 3 vehicles stopped in lane 1. Alex's car, Tina's van, and Tom's truck. To anyone paying attention, the danger was clear. But one driver wasn't paying attention at all. A 9-ton lorry approached at around 56 miles per hour. Behind the wheel was 39-year-old Mihail Kopanyars, delivering bottled water to a depot in Andover. He had more than 170 meters of clear road ahead, a distance that could easily have allowed him to slow down or steer away from the stopped vehicles. Yet he didn't. Investigators later discovered why. For 7 minutes leading up to the crash, Kopanyars had been watching a Facebook video on his phone. He even shared it with someone while driving. In the final moments, he was typing directions into his sat-nav app. His eyes were on the screen, not the road. His dashcam recorded everything. The 3 stationary vehicles loomed larger in the frame, hazard lights flashing. Then, in an instant, the lorry plowed into them with catastrophic force. Alex Britton, Tina Inns, and Tom Watson were all killed instantly. Instead of cooperating with authorities after the crash, Kopanyars tried to destroy evidence. He snapped his phone in half and threw it into the roadside undergrowth, an act his dashcam also captured. Police later recovered the phone, confirming he had been watching and sharing videos, then typing on his sat-nav, all while barreling toward the stopped vehicles. At first, he claimed brake failure. Investigators quickly disproved this. Kopanyars was sentenced to 12 years in prison and banned from driving for 10 years after his release. But for the families of Alex, Tina, and Tom, the sentence could never undo the loss. Their lives were gone in an instant, stolen by one driver's distracted choices. It was the evening of August 27, 2022, in Ferntree Gully, a quiet, tree-lined suburb on the outskirts of Melbourne. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over residential streets and quiet intersections. Inside a silver Saab sat 39-year-old Nicole Woolard, riding as a passenger with her friend, 45-year-old Matthew Dyer, behind the wheel. To Nicole, it was just another ordinary drive. Conversations about work, family, and everyday life filled the car. There was no hint, no warning, that in mere minutes her life would be violently cut short. Up the road, police radar picked up the Saab racing at 94 kilometers per hour in a 60-kilometer H zone. "He's going," one officer muttered, urgency in his voice as they executed a swift U-turn to follow. Lights and sirens flared, signaling Dyer to pull over. But instead of slowing, he pressed the accelerator harder, pushing the car faster through the crowded streets. Dyer had no business driving. His license had been expired for nearly a decade. The Saab wasn't registered, and its license plates had been stolen. He was on bail for theft, false registration, and drug-related offenses, with a long history of reckless behavior and substance abuse. That night, he was heavily impaired. Blood tests later revealed dangerously high levels of methamphetamine and alcohol in his system, a combination that left him unable to think rationally, let alone control a vehicle at high speed. As police pursued, Dyer's speed climbed, 110, 115, then a heart-stopping 159 kilometers per hour down Ferntree Gully Road, an 80-kilometer H zone packed with families, commuters, and evening traffic. Officers quickly realized the chase had become too dangerous. Over the radio, they called off the pursuit, requesting air support to track the car from above, but the decision came too late. Seconds later, at the intersection of Ferntree Gully Road and Camden Park Parade, the Saab approached a red light. Cars crossed legally on green, oblivious to the approaching threat. Dyer didn't brake. The Saab slammed into an SUV carrying a mother and her daughter, the force spinning the car into a nearby ute. Dashcam footage later revealed the horrific sequence: metal twisted, glass shattered, vehicles tossed across the road like toys. Witnesses described the aftermath as a war zone, debris strewn across the asphalt, car fluids pooling dangerously, and parts of wreckage raining down on other vehicles. By sheer luck, paramedics were stopped at the same red light mere meters away. They rushed to the scene immediately. Nicole was trapped in the passenger seat, her injuries catastrophic. Despite their desperate efforts, there was nothing anyone could do. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Dyer had been ejected from the Saab in the impact. Severely injured, he staggered to his feet. CCTV footage captured him wandering dazed, glancing briefly at the wreckage before walking away, leaving Nicole behind. The mother and child in the SUV suffered serious injuries, but survived. The driver of the ute miraculously walked away unharmed. In under a minute, what began as a routine traffic stop had become a devastating tragedy, leaving families shattered and a community in shock. Investigators later confirmed that Dyer's decisions fleeing from police, driving at excessive speeds, and running a red light were all fueled by his severe intoxication. Every choice he made that night increased the risk for everyone around him. In March 2023, Dyer appeared in court and pleaded guilty to culpable driving, causing death and reckless conduct endangering life. He offered no cooperation during his arrest. Later that year, he was sentenced to more than 10 years in prison, with a non-parole period of 7.5 years, and banned from driving for 8 years after his release. For Nicole's family and friends, the legal outcome could never undo the horror of that night or fill the void left by her sudden, senseless death.